Cool, and it looks like we're live on YouTube. So welcome everybody. This is the development key meeting. Today is May 19th, 2021, and we'll go ahead and get started. There's a video in case anybody has had an opportunity to kind of look over the video. I forgot to check, but I'll thank the 20 views who've shown up, or 19 views, because I know I watched myself just to make sure it actually recorded. So thanks to the other 19 viewers. And we'll go ahead and jump into questions. And Steve, I think you got the first one at number 4.
Yeah, definitely. And I hadn't thought to check, see how many people actually watch my videos. So I'll have to see tomorrow, like which one was more popular. So
oh, it's narcissism. You'll have more. I guarantee it. You'll have more.
So thanks for that. So yeah, number 4. I want to thank you for including on the PI page and also in your video. Adding visibility to the availability number, because that's, especially if as we have seen recently, that is very much a team effort that we can't do alone in infrastructure. Although it does seem like it's a little bit of kind of duplicative as far as like where we're reporting that. And so I was just wondering if maybe, as we iterate forward, there's this air budget effort that is underway. Both of our teams are working together on that. Maybe over the next quarter, we might be able to roll that up into some PI metric. Just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the metrics come and go, right? So like if later on we find that there's a better way to measure ourselves, then we're going to go use that, right? And then other things, will fall off as need be. So like if you have specific recommendations around it, I agree it's a little bit duplicative. I kind of viewed it more important as kind of a message to my department to say, hey, these are things that if we start seeing it affect things, that we got to have ownership. Product has a similar thing. So if you think about the product quad, or I think it's now referred to as the Hive, if you think about the Hive, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, this is important to all of us. So from that perspective, that's kind of view it. But it's, Steve, if you have specific recommendations, say, hey, Christopher, I'd rather have you focus on this from a development perspective. I'm definitely open to that. This is just kind of my attempt to get there.
Yeah, my thoughts, just given what you said there, is that I certainly don't see any harm in adding some more visibility, and also like creating some visibility to the fact that it is that outcome is only possible from a shared effort, and so it may just be that we're kind of in the middle of maybe transitioning to something that is more specific to the teams, and that might be around air budgets or whatever. So maybe it's there for a few months and then it removes off. I know one thing, metrics come and go, but probably that one will definitely always be on our infrastructure one. But anyways, yeah, I'll stop talking there.
I was just going to ask Sid, Brian, and others who are the audience for the meeting, what do you all think about this? Because we do see you ask questions related to availability in dev meetings, product in UX in product. And so does this help you or does it not?
So from my perspective, it does. It's good to get the information and learn more about it. I'm still learning more about it and sort of what the problems are. So I do find it helpful.
I joined a bit late, but is this about like site speed summary?
It's more around the Apdex performance and both the quality, though we do already have site speed also included on the dev metrics as well.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's both infrastructure and development, and I think right now the recent increases in LCP, for example, I think they're more likely to be due to development than to infrastructure.
Agreed. I'm not asking for, Steve, just to be clear, I'm not asking for LCP to end up on infrastructures at this point, because I feel like that's more development's responsibility as far as the regressions associated with it.
Yeah, and I think to your point earlier, like that's probably one that where there's variability around like where it shows up, and in the future there may be a time where we do need to be reporting on that because we've got some infrastructure changes to make. I agree.
Cool. Do we want to move on to item 5?
Yeah, so it looks like after the recent change, we kind of reduced the set of key performance indicators we've got, which is, I think, helpful. I took a screenshot here. So we've got MR rate, LCP, review to merge time, and sales renewal CSAT. So it feels like the themes we've got covered out of that 4 for the development department are productivity, meaning MR rate, performance is largest contentful paint. I'm not sure exactly what review to merge time sort of rolls up as a theme, like low friction, ease of development. I know it measures multiple things. And then fulfillment is a good example of a key of the moment, something we know we want to be better at. So we're putting emphasis on that measure. So agree with all those. I'd love to see, in addition to that, like a quality focus metric and maybe a people focus metrics. And people, I don't know if it's retention or engagement or maybe something related to recruiting, but that would be an interesting theme to think about, promoting one people related measurement to the top.
Yeah, we can definitely look in that. Would you want to start with PIs, or would you just want to go straight to KPIs for this from our team?
I mean, I would say if we look at the set of regular performance indicators and we've got something that fits those themes, promote it up to a key, or if we feel like we just don't have the most meaningful thing on these themes measured, we could talk about creating a new one and then launching it as a key performance indicator.
Okay. Definitely on the quality side, that one should be pretty straightforward. The people-focused one, we're already reporting. I believe we're already reporting on retention. What I can't remember is I thought we were doing that through people ops pages, though. Mech, Lily was talking to me a little bit about this, and I'm trying to remember. Was that just for engineering overall?
You're talking about the team retention metric?
Yeah.
We're still working on making that a PI at the division, but also drill down in all the departments metric as well. And that's a work in flight that we are.
Okay, so I'm confusing that with other people ops metrics that I know that we're keeping that are still department led from there. So another one is like how many bonuses we're giving out in a given month as an example. Okay, yeah, we can look at adding a people focused one as well.
And I think something around retention would be the most meaningful thing. I mean, because if we're doing a good job of bonuses, that goes into comp, which is one component of retention. So that feels like it would be a regular thing. Yeah, keeping people happy and productive and measuring retention would probably feel like the most important thing. If we could only measure one thing about people here, it would probably be retention, I think. But I'm open to proposals. Yeah,
it's a lagging indicator, unfortunately, is the toughest part about it. You only know when people are voting with their feet, which is the last step, right? So that's the one aspect, but I think it's a good place to start. And then we think about potentially whether we can find leading indicators that we want to use as priority. I don't think bonuses are. I'm just more talking about the fact that we do have people ops ones that are kind of measuring things from those aspects.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. Looks like we have a broken link, which I will get fixed. Apologies about that, Sid.
I'll take the responsibility. Go request it.
Sorry, did someone else chime in there?
I was going to say we created a bug for it on our side. It's because we iterated there and there's a regression. Apologies.
Oh, yeah. No apologies needed, people. All good. Number 7. I'd love for Mech to chime in about what he learned, but I think we're now measuring when we close an MR, we measure how long it took. And that goes the wrong way if we do the right thing, which is not good. We should have metrics that do the right thing when we do the right thing. We went through this many months in quality, and the only solution is to measure it, to measure the open ones and say, hey, how long have they been open for? And you don't get the exact time they close, you get an average, but that works. That goes the right way when you do the right thing. Mech?
Yeah, I believe looking at the opened issues draws attention to the one and only thing that will impact it positively overall. So I do see the benefit there. There's also merge requests that are closed, and that adds to that as well. It needs to be factored in. But I think that's a good experiment iteration to work on MRs. Christopher, what do you think?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I said this in the earlier discussion, is MRs, like we open and close a lot of, like an ideal scenario for most software developers is they open an MR and 2 days later it's merged, right? So I think this is one case where, like, if we're measuring it across a month, if we're just measuring the open days, and we have that baseline, we're never going to see that baseline associated with it. So it would show us the ones that are getting older, but it wouldn't necessarily show us necessarily as much. But that's kind of what my gut says. Can I finish my thought? That's kind of what my gut says. I want to go back and do some back analysis to kind of see, okay, let's look at what's open. Let's just measure it open, and then let's see what else the graph looks like with open and closed combined.
I can also volunteer to measure the community MRs and measure the open community MRs and get everybody aligned there. We make the switch as well, because I do constantly talking about stale community MRs and things that are open for 6 months to a year, and those are the ones that are lagging and it's hard to close. So providing some color there that we could also make our adjustments in community land.
So I was going to say, I think what you would see, Christopher, is extremely volatile data, but then you could smooth that out with a rolling average.
Actually, we're not seeing extremely volatile data if you look at the open ones. And yeah, if you close something really quick, that's great, and it keeps the open time down. Eric, we went through this. It took me 4 months to convince quality. We're finally there. Can you take this one?
Yep. Yeah. I believe it's in flight. So.
Sorry, it's in play.
Yeah. So MEX received the message. We're in the process of going through all the KPIs, and we're converting things to looking at kind of like age as opposed to when something has closed. Because as you've said, if something never closes, then you never see that event and you untrack it, and it's not apparent in your data. So. Yeah.
Like if you don't fix your old stuff, your metrics look great, and if you fix your old stuff, your metrics look bad. I think this is worth a blog post. We now went back. This is just not intuitive, and we went back and forth in quality a few times. I bet other companies have the same problem. So measure open, not closed, or something like that. I'd encourage us to write that as an organization, and then we can link to that in the future.
And as a heads up, we're having, just to tie that off, we're having similar conversations in UX. We're looking at a productivity metric for Valerie, the director of product design. And we've already given her that same thing of like, hey, this is what we learned over in development and quality land. Don't look at a time span where you never get that end event. Just track the current age of it. And so that one will launch with this already taken into account.
One negative behavior we're going to see here is, I think what's going to happen is if things get above 2 weeks, engineers are just going to close MRs and then reopen them, because there's not a terminal. Like you can't close a bug and then reopen a bug, because that's bad behavior. But closing an MR because you don't merge it is not necessarily bad behavior, or at least I would not. Like there are certain cases where I've seen where we wouldn't necessarily want to deny people that aspect. But sure, we'll go just change it to open, and we'll see what the data looks like.
Thanks. Do the shadows have to help with the blog post?
Yes.
Cool. Josh, you have enough information?
Yeah, I think I can do a little more research and talk to MEC and make sure we're all aligned too.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. And you got number 8, Sid?
Yeah, thanks. It's a bit of a side thing. I think we see in the SIS score that the MRs are a problem. We're going to focus on big MRs this quarter. So maybe I just have to wait for that. But I find that in MRs in GitLab, frequently like the merge button takes a whole long while to show. Now sometimes that times out and it never shows, and I have to reload the page. It feels like something that's kind of broken, but I wonder how many other people experience it. I asked Eric and he doesn't have it. So just want to get a temperature check.
So what Sid is talking about for background is you go to an MR, it checks to see if there's open comments and things, and you see the spinner, and he's waiting for the button to appear that you can click it to merge. And what he has seen, I have not seen it personally, is the spinner never stops, which you could surmise means the front end has made an API request that has timed out. It is not handling that timeout, and so it never gives you any kind of alert or UI element to say, hey, you need to refresh this page. Something has broken behind the scenes.
Thank
like
you.
An unhandled
Thank
exception.
you. That is totally it. And if I have to take a guess at the technical solution, it would be, we try to do it with, web something, and that times out. And then we should probably do a polling thing as well, or something like that. But that's getting too technical, but you had a perfect description of the problem, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's kind of independent of, I could be wrong, but I think that's independent of large MRs. That's just like general MR performance kind of challenges. So we can definitely take a look and see if we can get that fixed sooner than later and treat the large MRs initiative separate.
Much appreciated.
Cool. Well, we've hit the end of questions, and I hate